Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Interviewing Wednesdays. Very glad you're with us. It's April 7th, 2021. For those people who are watching on Zoom, if you have any questions, and as soon as you think about something, go ahead and just open up the chat box and stick it in the chat box. And as our speaker takes a break, we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. For those people watching on Facebook right now, please just enter your questions into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed, and I'll make sure we get those questions answered. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you happen to post a comment chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I founded Career DFW to help those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in their job search. In 2012, I launched CareerUSA.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It's available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. And I'll tell you about our interesting program we have coming up this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Before we get to our speaker, we're going to talk a little bit about the practice interview team. So Mark, would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. And I'm posting up some contact information for me. There's my LinkedIn profile, but also how to reach the pit crew, the email, and the phone number for the pit crew. And pit crew still going strong. We have 2 interviews today. I'll be doing those this afternoon, and that's how we do it these days. We do them virtually, so we can do them any day of the week. But other than that, they're the same as they were when we were meeting face to face. There's you, and there's 3 volunteers who provide the interview. It's a panel interview, and they have all been hiring managers as part of their professional responsibility. Most of them are also in transition, so they're in job search mode, just like you, and they're volunteering their time to help you out. And so our tagline, the pit crew's kind of slogan, is practice early and practice often, because every time you practice, you're going to gain confidence and get better at handling whatever may happen in the interview. A grumpy interviewer or an oddball question, you'll be prepared to answer it. And so practice early, practice often, and you do that by providing me, just emailing me at dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, a resume and a job description. And this job description does not have to be something that you are already engaged in. Most people who contact the pit crew do so because they have an interview coming up in a few days. And really that's a good idea, but you'll get more benefit out of it if you don't have that time pressure. And just pick out a job description that looks good to you. It may be one that you've already applied for but you haven't heard from. It may be your dream job description, but pick out a job description, send it in, and come practice against it. And the interviews take about 45 minutes, and there's feedback afterwards. It's recorded, so you can review your video after the meeting is over, and all the feedback is also recorded, so you don't have to take notes. And what else did I want to say? I think that's it. Oh yeah, it takes a couple of days to set up the interview. So yeah, that's what you can expect. So if you were to send it to me today, I'd be aiming for a Friday practice interview, maybe Monday. So we're trying to get 4 people's schedules lined up, your schedule plus the 3 panelists who are going to interview you. So I encourage you to link in with me, and that's information is also in the chat window. You can go to LinkedIn and search for Pit Crew, and I'll pop up, or you can search for my name. There's a lot of Mark McDonald's out there, so include the middle initial, and I'll be on the first page, Mark A. McDonald. And just send me a note that say we met on Interview Wednesday, and I'll add you to my network, which is going to help you in your job search, especially when you're looking for contacts inside target companies. And then finally, I do one other thing besides the pit crew to help out those in job search. I coach a little bit, and when I mean a little bit is I coach on one how to answer one specific question. Why did you leave your last job, or why did you leave your last position? Or it may even be a position or 2 or 3 ago. If there's anything in your resume or in your background that's going to give you anxiety when you answer that question, then let's have a conversation. And we'll talk about how to answer that question and also any follow-up questions that come up. So that's very unique to you and your situation. So we'll have a confidential discussion. Takes about an hour. Just reach out to me via email and we'll set an appointment to work on that together. Thanks, Jeff.
Mark. Thank you, Mark. Walt, tell us about the Interview Success Workshop.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Walt Glass, and I charge half as much as Mark does for the pit crew. So I do an interview success workshop. It's free. All you have to do is register to sign up. Now, what is the workshop about? Well, let me ask you a few questions because we're going to answer these in the workshop. Are you really prepared for a job interview? How much time have you spent on your resume versus practicing the interview? Do you know what you need to do to get prepared? What does selling ourselves really mean? Have you considered how you could differentiate yourself with your greeting, your opening, and your closing? What type of questions do you have, and what options, strategies, structures might we use in responding to those questions? Are you aware how you can build rapport and establish a connection with your interviewer? How do you demonstrate your expertise and value to the company? So all of this and more in the free interview success workshop. It's on Tuesday mornings, 10 to 12. Send me an email to my walt_glass@yahoo.com, and I will send you back availability dates so that you can be registered. I also need a job description and a resume. Similar to Mark, I don't need a real one. I just need one that's the kind of job you're looking for. So pick one out that you say, this is what I do, because I like to look at your responses in relationship to what they're looking for with a job description. So I'll be glad to have you come down and join the group. We don't have to sweat. We don't have to be nervous or have fear or be distressed. We can learn without squirming.
Walt, thank you very, very much. And Walt and Mark both they do the 13-part workshop that we do, and we'll be starting that back up again in May. All right, well, for the month of April, we're giving Walt and Mark the month off, even though they still they showed up again today anyway. We were supposedly was to give them a month so they wouldn't have to talk for a whole month, but they're still here. So we've got 4 speakers lined up for the month of April to talk about interviewing in their own particular terms. This week, our speaker is Jack Bick. Jack has, over the last 10 years, Jack has become a subject matter expert in the field of career coaching and employment strategy. He's written 2 books on the subject, Beat Mission Critical and The Champion Way. Both books outline how to circumvent the confused and competitive system to network into target companies and reach the hiring manager through the use of champions. Jack comes to this as a second career from a successful career in local journalism, primarily startups and turnarounds of local business journals. He's been successful in magazine publishing, internet publishing, and event promotion. Jack's success was also based on effective hiring methods, thus the logical pivot from journalism to career coaching. So Jack, thank you very much for being with us today. And his talk will be on clarity when you need it most.
Well, Jeff, thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to working with everybody today and learning a little bit more about how you can successfully circumvent the confused and competitive situation that we have today. Most of what I'm going to talk about today comes from my book, The Champion Way, that's available either through me or through Amazon. If you come through me, I can personalize it and autograph it for you. But what can you get out of what we're going to talk about today? The takeaways from today are very simple. to have the right attitude as you go into a job search so that it can be a positive experience all the way from start to finish. Building confidence, developing tactics that you can use to save time and save money. It costs a lot of money not to have a job. If you make $50,000 a year, that's $1,000 a week that you're not putting in your pocket every week that you don't have a job. So even if you don't do anything, it's costing you money. And we don't want that. The average job search is 22 weeks. And for somebody making $50,000 a year, that is $22,000. That's a lot of money. So everything that I'm doing is to make sure that we cut that time down to 4 to 8 weeks is what you should be able to do to get a job. So the reason that we have to have the right attitude, it really comes from having clarity as to what the situation is. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the clarity that's necessary for you to start a comprehensive career search. Now, we start with the first one is outward outlook. The first thing you have to realize is this is not about you. If you center everything on yourself, you're not as attractive to employers. If you show an employer through the methods that you use to network to get there, to get to that person, and in the interview, if you show that you are oriented toward their problem and you are the solution, but you have to show that you are oriented toward helping them to either make money or save money or solve a problem. This is not as easy as it sounds, but it's very important to do. The typical situation is that employers are going to interview about 10 people. And you can figure that one of those people is going to have an outward outlook. So if you want to compete with that person, you better have an outward outlook also. And you develop that by every situation. You work to think of it in terms of what does the other person need in order to hire you. When you get that outward outlook, you'll see that people are responding to you, and that will improve and give you a positive attitude. Our second guide to a positive attitude and to clarity is to recognize the changing marketplace. Change is just as a constant in the world ever since the beginning of the world. There's climate change, there's chemical change, and those things have been going on since the beginning of time. But we also see that there are trend lines and changes even in the job market. It used to be that what you knew would get you a job. Then it changed to who you know will get you a job. And now it is who knows you well enough to recommend you. People are reluctant to recommend you unless they know something about you. They have to know you well enough before they'll be willing to put their reputation on the line to reference you and to pass your name along. So it's very important, if you want someone to champion you, you have to develop and cultivate them as your champion. So the second thing is to recognize that it is people who know you well enough will help you in your job search. But you have to approach them from a standpoint of who they are, not your need, but their need to help you. A lot of people will want to help you if you approach them the right way. The third aspect of clarity is to realize how much confusion there is in the marketplace. Much of that confusion is actually coming from the employers themselves, because they are depending more and more on impersonal, non-contact ways of evaluating who you are. Now, I'll tell you, I don't like the idea that a software is going to evaluate me, that a computer is going to evaluate me and decide whether I can have an opportunity to sell myself to a company. So to me, the next thing, what you want to do when faced with confusion is go around it. You can't beat it, because that type of interviewing is ingrained now, but you can avoid it. There's no need to go through an ATS. You can go around it and find a way to get to the hiring manager and avoid all the confusion that's part of the impersonal electronic ways that companies are trying to save money in the pursuit of finding people. I don't think you really find the right people. In fact, Fast Company reported that between 30 and 50% of all new hires are failures. Now, I don't think that that's a failure on the part of the candidate. I think it's a failure on their process. And the process is putting the wrong people in the wrong spots. So you can improve your attitude and have a positive attitude when you realize that there are methods to get around the ATS. The fourth guide is the fact that competition is higher than ever. Now, when I wrote the book, we didn't have COVID. I wrote it before COVID happened. Well, COVID has just magnified the number of people who are looking for a job. And what happens when jobs are posted, everybody runs to them. And I had one of my clients who applied for a job, and she was the 18th person to, excuse me, to apply for that job. At the end of the day, she checked back to see how many people had applied. 1,800 people applied for that job. And it's very, very difficult for you to differentiate yourself when there's 1,800 people trying to get a job. And you think about the number of people who are going to be eliminated because they're only going to interview probably 10, maybe 20 at the very most. So in order to develop a positive attitude, you must realize that by going after posted jobs and posting your your resume on job boards is only going to get you in the middle of all that competition. And just like with the confusion, you can get around it. You can decide what companies you want to work for and network your way in. You've got a much better chance to get the job that you want when you choose the company and network your way in and research the company so that you have valuable information that can differentiate you from other candidates. The fifth way to improve your attitude and make it a positive attitude is to realize that there's a reason for the timeout. Now, I believe that God plays a very important part in our job search. In fact, God plays an important part in every part of our lives. But God invented jobs, and he knows where your next job is. And sometimes he sends you an opportunity to reevaluate where your life is going, not only with your job, but also with your family and your relationship to God. So once you realize that you have God on your side, that can improve your attitude and make it a positive attitude. Number 6 is that your career is in your control. Now, if many people come to me for coaching and they feel that it's out of their control, they don't have control of their career search. The reason for that is that once they send their resume into a job posting, that's all you can do. You're stuck. You're waiting to see if there's life on the other side of that ATS. And many times there isn't. You don't even hear anything. You think you're being ghosted, but really a machine has decided that they don't want to talk to you. You actually have control, because if you personalize your approach to your job search, then you have the opportunity to control the message. You can control when they're going to get it, how they're going to get it, and you can control who's going to get your message about how good you are at what you do. And another thing to think about here is that you're not looking for a job. You are actually looking to invest your skills and experience with a new company. That puts value on you. That puts positive nature on you. And like I explained in my first book, Be Mission Critical, you show that you are critical to their mission. Every one of us has value. Every one of us has God-given talents. And those talents are enough for us to be able to take care of ourselves and our families. If we realize them and we cultivate those talents and experiences and know how to present those in the marketplace, and we can do that because we control the message. So you can control your job search in a very positive way. Once you realize that, you have a positive attitude. Number 7, all jobs are temporary. Once I had a lady in the audience when I was doing some group coaching, and she said, well, I didn't have a temporary job. I was 30 years in the military. And I said, well, that's interesting. You spent 30 years and came out as a buck private? And she said, no, I'm a command sergeant major. That's a pretty powerful position. And so I said, well, obviously your job changed on a regular basis as you moved up the ladder. And we all have to realize that we have to accept the responsibility for our career. Nobody else is in charge of our career. Our career is not decided by external forces. Our career should be decided by internal forces within ourselves. The locus of control is within ourselves. We are in charge. Your boss isn't in charge. His boss isn't in charge. The economy is not in charge. The government is not in charge. You are. We've come through a very difficult year, yet we can see that people have been succeeding during this particularly difficult time. And a lot of people have found new jobs, but companies have adjusted and many had to change what they were doing. And so they reacted. Remember, number 2 was accept change. If you accept change, then you can understand things that are needed when things are changing rapidly. Change just means that opportunity is shifting. You just have to realize where it's going and get there and show how your talents, your gifts, and your experiences are relevant to the new change. So all jobs are temporary, and truthfully, when if you realize that you are in control of your destiny, that should be a powerful thing. If you think that something else is in control of your destiny, it's very hard to have a positive attitude. But you are in charge of it, and you can control it. The 9th guide is avoid postings, which we already have talked about, and embrace the hidden job market. The job, I really dislike that phrase, hidden job market, because if I have a company and I'm looking for an accountant, I'm certainly not hiding it. And so my new way of expressing it is the discovery job market. You have to discover it. You have to be active in the marketplace to find the companies that don't post their jobs. They do post them, but not in the way that is going to attract hundreds of resumes, because there is a significant cost connected to going through 100 resumes. Certainly a much higher cost if you have 1,000 resumes. I remember when I first came to Dallas, I was publisher of the Dallas Business Journal, and I had to hire a new business manager. And I naturally put an ad in my own newspaper. Well, I got 311 resumes, and I was putting off going through all those resumes because it's not fun on the hiring side to go through those. And actually, somebody was suggested to me through networking, and I ended up hiring that person and never really going through the 311 resumes. And you might think that I took the easy way out because that person was presented to me, but that was in 1990, and that person just retired from the Dallas Business Journal a couple of months ago. So she was pretty good. In fact, she was fabulous. And she made it through 5 different publisher changes. So embrace the discovery job market. And what it requires is for you to really network out there and find the companies that you want to work for. When you do that, you can network your way in and find a way to present your mission critical skills and experiences to fit their job descriptions. And finally, number 10 is, excuse me, human nature is a constant. We react to various stimuli the same as our grandparents and their grandparents and every human being ever since time began. We respond to personal contact. So if that's true, why would we want to go and submit ourselves to an impersonal way of being selected? Go around those things and allow your personality to be seen and to have your skills and experience judged on a personal basis rather than an impersonal basis. Have it be where you are there to move your candidacy forward on a daily basis and develop champions who can do some of the heavy lifting for you. And you're much better off being a selected candidate because somebody in the company suggested you than you are if you come through an ATS. Now, obviously there are jobs out there that are posted that you may want. My suggestion to you, rather than sending in your resume, when you see a posted job you like, find champions. Go to LinkedIn, find who works there. Network your way to those people, get those people to really know you, and then they will take your resume in. And the other advantage of having a champion on the inside of a company where you want to work is that they can feed you information about how the process goes. You can have the inside information as to how they like your resume to be written, what kinds of traits they're really looking for, and also, and even most importantly, who the hiring manager is and what he is as an individual hiring manager is looking for. That's invaluable information. There's also a new wrinkle out there where the hiring manager writes a 25 to 50 word expression of exactly what he's looking for, the preferred person that he's looking for. Not all hiring managers want the same thing. And they're all individuals and they all have their likes and dislikes. And if you have a chance to really know who the hiring manager is and have some feedback as to what that person is all about, you're way ahead of everybody else. So I hope I've given you some information here that you can use to have a positive attitude as you enter into the job search process. Remember, that process should not take more than 4 to 8 weeks. 4 to 8 weeks. Now, what I'm gonna, I've hinted at what I think the process should be. But let me give you some ideas and give you some clarity as to what this is all about. To me, a job search is a marketing problem. You have to market yourself. One time I had an engineer come to me and he said that he lost out on a plum job that he really wanted because and he knows the guy who got the job, and he knows that he's a better engineer than the guy who got the job. I said, you may be the better engineer, but he's the better marketer. He marketed himself much better than you did. So it's a marketing process. First, you have to start with knowing the product. You are the product. You are what is being sold. So you need to get a real grasp of who you are. What makes you tick? What are the things that you've gone through? Why did you pick certain jobs? And in my new book, I've got almost 100 questions that you can ask yourself to really find out who you are and what it's all about. Now, why would you want to know that? We live with ourselves all the time. So don't we know each other? Don't we know ourselves already? Yes and no. We forget things. We forget things that have happened to us, especially things that aren't so good. We push those to the back of our mind. We really need to have those at the front of our minds when we're going into a job search. We also underestimate ourselves. We fail to connect the dots, and we rationalize. So we are actually, let's admit it, lying to ourselves. And that's not a healthy situation. We really need to know ourselves deeply. And once we really know ourselves deeply, we can write star stories that have impact, that are viable and brief. So doing a deep dive into who we are is very, very important for us to be able to write the star stories. And we all know, no matter what process you're going through, star stories are the foundation of any job search. Those success stories tell our story very, very well. The second thing you have to do, once you know the product, you have to know the audience. This is a basic in terms of marketing. Any marketing company has to know the product, and they have to know the audience in order to do an effective marketing job. So the second thing is choose your companies and market your way in. I suggest having 5 companies that you want to target. Now, the advantage to that is that you can differentiate yourself because you do some deep investigation and research into these 5 companies. You're at a great advantage over anybody who only knows these companies on a surface level. By you choosing and defining the 5 that you want to work for, you have an advantage because when you walk in there, you say, I want to work for you. Not because there's a job available, because your company is where I can best invest my skills and experience. And when you have deep research into who you are and who the companies are, you can write better resumes because you know what the target is and you know what information you want to put in there. It's very important to have a resume, what I call a selling resume, that covers the highlights of your career. You don't need everything in order to get an interview. You may need to tell them everything about you in order to get the job, but you don't need everything. It's the highlights that they're going to get interested in and want to know more. Telling them everything can actually be a disadvantage. So the way that you put together your resume so that it will be a point of differentiation. So that once you know the product, once you know the audience, and once you have started into your marketing materials, starting with your resume, you can go in and really do a good job of networking your way into those companies. If you're trying to network your way into 20 or 25 companies, you're not going to do a very deep job of it because there just isn't time. But if you're concentrating on 5 companies where you want to work, then you have it's a great opportunity for you to make a deep impression and get that job. The last thing, after you enter into the marketplace, after doing all that research, is selling. And really selling your way into a company during the interview. I call it the conversation. And what's important in the conversation is for you to ask questions. You should ask a question to get the conversation started. You should be asking questions throughout the interview. And at the end, you should be asking questions so that you know exactly where you stand. If you walk away from an interview and you don't know exactly where you stand, you probably didn't make a deep enough impression. You have to know for sure. So you want to ask them. My favorite question is to say, do you see me in this role? And the guide that I give to all of my clients in coaching, the underlying idea is that if you're not in the top 3 before you go into the interview, you're not going to get that job. Because you not only have to do a good job in the interview, but the top 3 have to fail. And that's not likely to happen. 1 maybe might fail, but having 3 of them fail in order to boost you up to number 1 probably isn't going to happen. So you have to differentiate yourself through marketing, through research, through networking, through doing hundreds of little tactics that are all explained in my book, that in order to be in the top 3 before you ever go into that interview.
Jack, if you don't mind, Bill asked, how do you know if you're in the top 3?
Well, you know because you are you are doing the things to differentiate yourself. You're not doing things exactly the same way everybody else does. But ultimately, you ask. And if you have champions inside that company, they can ask for you. Any other questions?
Nathan asked on Facebook, when the interviewer uses the term entry level as part of the job description, is that a code that we're looking for, that they're looking for a younger applicant and not a more mature person?
Probably. Not necessarily all the time, but I think that what they're looking for is the least expensive person. More than just age. It's probably you could be 40 years old, changing industries and having to start at the bottom. Well, you're gonna start at a lower income because you're new to the industry.
Okay. John asked, how do you convert a LinkedIn stranger into a champion?
Well, you start at the beginning. The first thing I said was outward outlook. So you look and decipher things about that person that you can use to make a connection. I have a thing called the communication formula, and it's very simple. It's you connect to the other person before you want them to connect to you. In other words, you show a concern about, or an interest in their job, how they're doing it, their activities, their hobbies, their pursuits, before you ever expect them to be interested in what you're interested in.
Okay. If anybody else has a question, please put it in. Daniel, you're asking on Facebook, what's the name of Jack's books? And I'll have both his books up here in just a second. I'll pop them up on the screen so you can see what they both look like.
Now, if you go into Amazon, you either need to go through my name, or you have to have the entire The Champion Way land in 4 weeks.
Right. Yeah. The easiest way to do it is just type in Amazon. Here's the 2 books. Here's what they look like. The Champion Way is his newest book. Be Mission Critical is the book he put out a few years ago. Both of them are on Amazon, but if you just put in Jack Bick in Amazon, up will pop. These are the first 2 books that'll pop up. Any other questions from anybody? Questions, comments, suggestions? All right. So Jack, if you could sum up in just a few words, what do you think the most important thing is in interviewing?
The most important thing in interviewing is ask questions. When you go in and make your opening statement, you end the statement, that statement with a question that will get the conversation going. During the conversation, the middle part of the interview, you want to be asking questions to clarify and to show your interest in doing a good job. And then at the end, you want to make sure that you ask questions so that you know exactly where you stand, and end with that very important question: do you see me in this role?
Could you go over your 10 points real quick, and just, give us each point, because Leslie's asking what was point number 8. And so I thought, well, let's talk about each of them. Let's review each one of them again real quick.
Okay, very quickly here, develop an outward outlook is number one. Number two is recognize the changing marketplace. Number three is confusion, which is a disconnect from reality. Number four is competition is higher than ever. Number five is there is a reason for a timeout in your life. Number six, your career is in your control. Number seven, all jobs are temporary. Number eight, a very important one, all companies are hiring. And number nine is embrace the discovery job market. And number 10, human nature is a constant.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Michael asked, what's the difference between the new book and the old book?
The first one is basically what to do and how to do it. The second book is what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and why to do it. And there's probably 20% more checklists and ideas in the second book than the first book. If
Well,
you
great.
buy, right now I'm going into another printing of the Champion Way, and I'm selling either one for $20 rather than $30. So if they contact me, my contact information is in chat.
Right. And here is Jack's LinkedIn profile. If you want to link in with Jack, please send a personal note. Let him know that you saw him here today. And if you've got any more questions, you can reach out to Jack on LinkedIn. Jack, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for your presentation today.
Jeff,
yes.
if I could say one more thing,
Yeah.
I'll make an offer to your audience that if they want me to do a resume review, I will do it free of charge. All they have to do is email their resume to me, and I'll get back to them within 2 days.
That'll be great. Well, thank you very, very much for that offer. Will you go ahead and put in your contact information one more time in the chat box? That way people, they didn't catch it at the beginning, at least they'll catch it now. And for those people watching on Facebook, the best way to do that is just reach out to Jack via LinkedIn. That would be the best way to do that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to take a call and I may have missed. I had the question, how do you know if you are in the top 3 or not in the top 3? Like, I don't know that I've ever known. Like, how do you get that insight?
Well, number one, you know, because you've done all the things that will differentiate you. Number two is you ask.
Oh, okay.
And if you don't want to ask if you have champions in that company, then you want to have them find out.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you very much once again, Jack, thank you very much. Next week, our speaker for special guest interviewing speakers will be Tony Bashera. He runs Babbage and Associates. He's a recruiter. He's going to talk about the 10 biggest mistakes that people make while interviewing. And he talks to people every day about interviewing, and he interviews people every day. So it'll be a very interesting presentation. Join us next Wednesday. We're putting on training every day of the week. Hopefully you join us every day at 1 o'clock Central. Lunch and learn, I guess is what I should call this. Tomorrow for Effective Resume Thursdays, every Thursday we do an Effective Resume Thursday class. We'll be talking about resume tips from a talent acquisition leader. You also have an opportunity to win a month's use of jobscan.co. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group at 9:30 in the morning, negotiate, closing the deal for what you're worth, how to do those final negotiations to make sure you're getting what you're worth. Next Monday for Networking Mondays, we'll be doing networking, informational interviewing. Walt Glass will be our speaker. Next Tuesday, how to create a LinkedIn brand that tells your key contacts who you are, what you do, and how you can help. Tuesday's presentation is with Terry Sullivan. He does not allow his presentations to be recorded, so you will need to watch it live if you want to see his presentation. And then once again, next Wednesday, Tony Bashero, the 10 biggest mistakes that people make in interviewing. We'll start our 13-part interviewing workshop again, starting on May 5th during the months of May, June, and July. And then hopefully after that, we can get back together in person. Those are the 13 steps that are there. All these sessions are on the Career USA YouTube channel. I'll show you those in just a second. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Thank you very much for everybody who's joined us today on Facebook. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll get a little alert saying that we've posted something to our channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, it looks like this. Be sure to click on Playlist where you see the green arrow, and then underneath it, don't click on the video, but click underneath where the red arrow is and it says View Full Playlist. And what will happen is up will come a listing of all the different videos in order that you can pick whichever title you're interested in. And these special series will be intertwined, will be at the most recent one of the interviewing videos. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops on a daily basis, please join the Career USA mailing list. You can send an email to Career USA, +subscribe@groups.io. We put out 7 emails a week. They're all controlled by me, so you'll never be spammed, but you will get the daily Zoom link every day, so you'll be able to join us via Zoom. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Jack is a volunteer. He volunteered to present today. I'm a volunteer. I've never gotten paid to do what I've done over the last 12 and a half years. We have no full or part-time employees. We survive on donations. It pays for Zoom. It pays for the web names. It pays for our web hostings and anything that I can't get donated that I have to pay for. So please consider when you get your next opportunity, your next great opportunity, please consider making a donation. It'll help us to continue to provide the services that we're providing. So thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, Friday, or one day next week. And there's that email address again if you'd like to subscribe to the Career USA mailing list. Have a great day. Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you.